All right, the Sunday night tape is currently loading into the global terminals, and what we are witnessing in the early pre-market session today, March 1st, 2026, is a total systemic rejection of the Western paper pricing model. John A.G. has been tracking the Sunday gap for over a decade, but the data hitting the terminal in the last hour suggests that the bridge between Friday's close and Monday's reality has been permanently dismantled. While the mainstream financial news is still focused on stale weekend narratives, the tape is screaming that the physical silver market has entered a state of terminal breakout. We are looking at a world where the spot price is no longer a metric of value, but a historical relic of a controlled manipulation that has finally run out of collateral. The registered inventory at the COMEX, which we watched crash to a record low 72 million ounces on Friday, is now functionally irrelevant because there is no one left to sell at these artificial levels. The exit has been closed, the vaults are hollowing out, and the Sunday gap is the final warning shot for the paper shorts. The data hitting the private OTC terminals regarding the Sunday open is simply breathtaking for anyone who understands the mechanics of the physical drain. We are seeing early bids in the Eastern shadow markets opening at an equivalent of $140 per ounce, while the Western digital screens are still trying to calibrate the Friday close of $95. John A.G. is doing the math for you. That is a $45 gap, the largest in the history of the precious metals markets. Why is this happening tonight? Because the March delivery window that officially opened on Friday revealed a level of physical demand that the bullion banks cannot satisfy. They have promised atoms they do not possess, and the Sunday gap is the market's way of pricing in a total exchange default. The shorts are no longer just underwater, they are currently trapped in a high-pressure zone with zero oxygen. You cannot print silver, and the East has decided they are no longer willing to trade their physical bars for digital promises. Look at the divergence in global sentiment as we prepare for the full Asian session open. The Shanghai Gold Exchange has signaled that it will implement a physical first settlement policy starting tonight, effectively ending the ability of Western institutions to use paper leverage to influence Eastern pricing. John A.G. has warned you for years that the price discovery power would eventually shift to the hands that hold the metal. Tonight, that shift has become the global reality. Every primary refinery in Mexico and South America is reportedly under instructions to hold all concentrate shipments until the New York pre-market settles. This is a supply embargo in all but name. The West is being decoupled from the physical reality of the metal markets, and the Sunday gap is the sound of the system snapping under the weight of a 200-to-1 leverage ratio that has finally hit the wall of physical reality. The systemic lockdown we discussed throughout the weekend is now manifesting in the interbank lending markets. We are receiving reports of collateral rejection from several major clearinghouses in Europe tonight. John A.G. knows that in the world of high finance, when one bank refuses to accept another bank's paper as collateral, the end is near. When the silver collateral disappears from the vaults, the entire pyramid of rehypothecated debt begins to vibrate toward collapse. They are using the Sunday night window to try and re-margin the entire market, but you cannot margin call your way out of a physical deficit. If the bars aren't in the vault, the paper is worth zero. This is the bail-in maneuver moving into its most aggressive phase. They are attempting to preserve the institutional architecture by sacrificing the digital expectations of the retail public. This is why financial warfare education is your only shield tonight. The industrial panic has reached a state of terminal desperation for the global tech sector as the March delivery cycle begins. John A.G. has primary sources inside the logistics department of a major solar glass manufacturer who says their silver paste supplier has declared force majeure as of 6 p.m. tonight. They are no longer checking the COMEX ticker because the COMEX has no silver for them. They are now competing directly with the military-industrial complex for the last remaining 1,000-ounce bars sitting in private, unallocated storage. Tesla, Raytheon, and Apple are now sending direct procurement teams to the mine sites in Nevada and Canada, offering $250 an ounce for direct-to-refinery physical metal. The green energy revolution and the defense grid are both hitting a brick wall made of a physical silver deficit. The manufacturers have realized that the paper market is a fraud, and they are bidding for reality at any price tonight. The news from the Mexican mining sector remains the alpha event of 2026 as we head into the new week. The deployment of military security at the mine sites has now been upgraded to a national security seizure of all refined silver inventory. Mexico, the world's leading producer, has realized that their physical metal is a more stable reserve than the currency they are being paid for it. John A.G. is tracking the diplomatic cables, and the rumors of a silver-backed BRICS settlement unit are starting to manifest in the official trade data. If Mexico formally redirects its silver flows away from the London-New York corridor, the Western registered vault hits absolute zero by Wednesday. The miners are refusing to dig for digital dust, while the world is starving for physical conductors. The Western supply chain is currently in a state of cardiac arrest, and the Sunday gap is the final pulse of the old system. The $35 trillion debt wall is the mountain that is currently falling onto the banking system tonight. The interest on the U.S. debt is now a mathematical wildfire that is consuming the entire global financial structure in real time. John A.G. sees the price suppression of silver as the final desperate act of a dying currency. If they let the price of silver reflect its true scarcity, which is already happening in the shadow markets, the dollar's credibility vanishes instantly. But you cannot suppress a physical deficit with a digital algorithm once the vault is khali. The registered inventory numbers at 72 million ounces are a death sentence for the bullion banks. The silver is gone, moved to jurisdictions that value physical reality over digital illusions. The bail-in is the only tool they have left to prevent a total bank run, and the Sunday gap is the market realizing that the exit has been locked from the outside. Look at the gold to silver ratio as it compresses toward the 30-to-1 mark in the Sunday night pre-market. This is a historical revaluation that has been suppressed for 50 years by bank manipulation. John A.G. has shown you the data where silver acts as the volatile variable that captures both industrial panic and monetary flight. While gold is the anchor, silver is the rocket fuel. When the ratio reverts to its natural geological mean of 15-to-1, which is now a mathematical certainty given the physical shortage, the price of silver will enter a territory that the mainstream media will call the greatest wealth transfer in human history. The rubber band has snapped, and it is destroying every naked short position in the global terminal. The reality is that silver is the most undervalued strategic asset on the planet, and the value gap is closing in front of your eyes tonight. Every emergency update I provide is rooted in the primary source data of the vaults and the delivery notices. The tape tonight is telling us that the plumbing of the Western exchanges is functionally blocked by a lack of collateral. We are seeing record high fails to deliver being reported as the March delivery window begins its first full cycle. This means that even the institutional players who thought they were safe are discovering that their metal has been double booked by the bullion banks. John A.G. is telling you that the Sunday gap is the final warning for anyone holding digital claims on physical assets. In a world of cyber polygon risks and digital surveillance, the physical bar in your hand is the only financial record that is truly sovereign. If you don't hold it, you are merely an unsecured creditor in a system that has just declared mathematical bankruptcy. The face of shock you see in the thumbnails is the face of the institutional banker who realizes that the first notice day was not a technical glitch, but the start of the final run on the bank. John A.G. sees this panic in the volume profile of the Sunday night trades. There is a massive ask vacuum. People are bidding 140, 150, 160, but no one is selling physical bars. The owners of the silver are sitting tight. They know that the Western system is insolvent and that a force majeure event is the only logical conclusion for the COMEX exchanges this week. The hunter has become the prey, and the prey is out of metal to feed the monster they created. The Sunday gap is the only place where the truth is being told tonight, and the truth is that silver is becoming unpriceable in fiat terms. The central banks of the BRICS nations are currently finalizing the digital ledger for a new physical-backed settlement unit that positions silver as a core pillar of the new economy. John A.G. is tracking the diplomatic flows, and the de-dollarization of the silver trade is now 90% complete. When the world's major manufacturers and energy producers decide to trade in a unit backed by the very metals they need to build their future, the global demand for the dollar falls to zero. We are watching a hostile takeover of global price discovery by the people who actually produce the wealth. The paper changers are being evicted from the temple of finance, and they are leaving with nothing but digital codes that no longer command physical atoms. The Sunday gap is the opening bell for the new monetary era. The no-hype philosophy is about looking at the mathematics of the drain. If you look at the Indian and Chinese physical import data from the last 72 hours, the demand for good delivery bars has increased by a factor of 15. The small man in the East has realized that the paper system is a trap designed to steal their time and their labor. They are choosing the payment over the promise. John A.G. knows that there are 8 billion people on this planet and only a few 100 million ounces of deliverable silver left in the West. The door to safety is only wide enough for the 1% who acted before the force majeure was announced. When the masses realize the banks are empty and the registered vault is at zero, the rush into silver will be the greatest transfer of wealth in 500 years. You are not speculating. You are insuring your very existence against a systemic reset. Mexico's shift toward nationalization is the ultimate confirmation of the strategic resource war. If the Mexican government decides that silver concentrate is too vital to export to the West, the COMEX registered inventory becomes a historical footnote. John A.G. is monitoring the diplomatic tension, and it is at a level not seen since the Cold War. The West is realizing that it cannot run a high-tech military or a green economy on paper silver. They need the metal, but the metal is in the hands of the producers who are now demanding a seat at the table of global power. If you don't own the physical metal in your own possession, you are merely a spectator in a war that is being fought for the future of the human race. The Sunday gap is the signal that the exit has been closed forever. The industrial hunger for silver in 2026 has reached a terminal point where the military-industrial complex is now in a direct bidding war with the tech sector for every available ounce. Every high-tech missile, every satellite, and every advanced communication system requires silver for its superior conductivity. John A.G. has confirmed that the strategic national stockpile in several Western nations is functionally zero tonight. They have cannibalized their own reserves to maintain their current defense posture. This means there is no backstop for the currency. There is no government rescue coming when the retail public finally realizes the banks are empty. When the registered vaults hit zero, the market will move to no offer status. You won't be able to buy silver at any price because there will be none for sale in the Western exchanges. The John A.G. logo stands for Financial Warfare Education because we are in a war for the truth. The banks have the media, the politicians, and the printing presses. But we have the tape, we have the numbers, and most importantly, we have the physical. Today's Sunday Open is a total validation for everyone who ignored the hype and focused on the registered drain. We are on the right side of history, and the great wealth transfer is the event we are living through as we speak. The $35 trillion system is functionally dead. It just hasn't realized it yet because the digital screens are still pretending everything is normal. But the Sunday gap proved that the illusion is fragile and the reset is inevitable. The physical world is finally demanding its due, and the paper lies are being consumed. As the London shadow markets prepare for the Monday morning open, the ask prices in the private dealer networks have jumped another 25% in the last 4 hours. John A.G. is seeing silver bars being traded for gold bars at a ratio of 30-1 in the private vaults of Singapore. The official price is a joke that only the uninformed still believe. The real price is being set by the people who have the metal in their possession and are refusing to sell it for fiat currency. This is the market decoupling in its final stage. By the time the mainstream news tells you that silver is the new gold, there will be none left to buy. You are the early minority who saw the math, tracked the tape, and prepared for the exit to be closed. I want to highlight the psychological warfare being used against you tonight. The headlines tomorrow morning will talk about market volatility and sudden speculative gaps. This is a lie designed to keep you from pulling your money out of the failing banks. They want to trap you in the bail-in zone before the full Monday morning open. John A.G. has seen this movie before. In every crisis, they tell the public that everything is fine right up until the moment they lock the vault doors. But the 2026 scenario is different because the physical shortage is so acute that they cannot hide it with paper contracts anymore. The truth is leaking out through the premiums, through the delivery failures, and through the empty registered vaults. Don't be a victim of their digital illusions tonight. The Sunday gap wasn't a glitch, it was a strategic breakout. The East is preparing the world for a new system where value is based on physical assets, not debt-based promises. John A.G. knows that silver is the ultimate freedom asset. You cannot turn off a physical silver bar with a keystroke. You cannot tax a transaction that happens in physical metal outside of their digital surveillance system. This is why they are so desperate to keep the price suppressed. They want you dependent on their digital lies. But the physical world is finally demanding its due. The producers are striking, the East is bidding $140, and the vaults are empty. The paper system is burning, and the fire is spreading to the foundation of the global banking infrastructure. The Sunday gap is the funeral of the dollar. We are heading into a 24-hour window that will define the next decade of your life. The March delivery madness has begun, and the bullion banks are staring into an abyss of physical default. John A.G. predicts that we will see force majeure declared on several major commodity exchanges before the Monday close. This will effectively end the futures market and move the world back to a physical-only trade model. The paper trap has officially snapped shut. If you are in the physical, you have a seat on the lifeboat. If you are in the paper, you are part of the ship. Stay sharp, watch the tape, and remember, the system has officially snapped under the weight of the silver shortage. The collateral is gone, and the truth is out. I'll leave you with this final thought for the Sunday update. The exit is closed, the vaults are empty, the bail-in is live. John A.G. will be back for the 7:30 a.m. morning update as the New York session opens to what will likely be a total market meltdown. We are living through the greatest wealth transfer in 500 years, and the data is the only light in the fog of financial warfare. Stay disciplined, watch the premiums in Shanghai, and for the love of everything, keep your eye on the physical. The paper market is a sinking ship, and the fire has reached the boiler room. It is time to step out of the illusion and into the reality of physical metal. The Sunday gap has changed everything. All right, I'm out.